Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Nadia and this is the place where we get real. And today we're getting real about one of my favorite topics, and that is vaginas. If you've ever been worried that your vagina might not be normal, if you're worried about how it should look, smell, taste, function, whatever it may be, then please make sure you keep on watching. Welcome back to my channel.
Are you serious with me?
Oh my god! I don't understand how these things always happen to me. So I made a video quite recently about how a vagina should smell, and I got an amazing reaction from you guys. You guys really loved that, and you loved specifically just how normalizing it was for you, and a lot of you said that you wanted to see more content on vaginas, which brings me so much joy because I love vaginas. And so I want to talk today a bit more sort of big picture about vaginas and some of the incorrect perceptions that we have around them and the way that they should look and function. I thought there was kind of no better way to start this video off than to quote a study that was conducted last year that is quite startling. They interviewed over 2,000 women, and in these interviews 45% of the women were not able to correctly locate and identify the vagina on a diagram. More distressingly, 55% couldn't even locate the urethra, which is the hole that we pee from. While this is shocking, to me it's not particularly surprising. I know from talking to women and from being a woman myself that sex education really lets us down. It doesn't teach us a great deal about our bodies. It really doesn't teach us pretty much anything about our body's potential for pleasure, and the focus really tends to be on reproduction and not so much on just normalizing and familiarizing ourselves with our genitals. Now, before I go any further, I obviously want to say that you guys know I'm not a doctor, I'm not a gynecologist, I'm not a medical professional. And so if you do have any concerns about your genitals in general, I always recommend going and speaking to a medical professional. This video is obviously not meant in any way to replace that, but I do hope that I can shed some light that's going to help you to understand a little bit more about your body today. Let's get down to actually what a vagina even is. Now, the term vagina is used pretty much synonymously with female genitals. When we say vagina, we are generally talking about what we see in the mirror if you're standing naked in front of the mirror. But actually, that is not correct. That outside area where your pubic hair grows is called the vulva. The vagina is inside our bodies and we can't actually see it. If you haven't done this already, I would highly recommend doing it, ideally now. Like, pause the video, just go and do it now. Every woman needs to do this. And that is looking at your vulva. And I mean really looking at it. I'm talking about sitting down in a comfortable space, whether that's on the floor or on a chair, in the privacy of your bedroom, taking off your underwear and putting a hand mirror between your legs and actually having a look.
Hello?
Hey girl, hey!
And that's important for a couple of reasons. One, because it's obviously going to help you to familiarize yourself with where everything is located, which we're about to go through. But two, because it's so important in breaking down all of the shame that women have been conditioned to have when it comes to our genitals. We've really been taught as women that our genitals are dirty, that they're not to be spoken about.
The word itself makes some men uncomfortable. Vagina.
It's actually not uncommon at all for women to get into their 20s, 30s, 40s and beyond and to never have actually looked at their own vulva really properly. So I want you guys to know that There's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to any part of your body. There should be no more shame in looking at your vulva than there is in looking at your belly button. And I understand that that's a process that we all have to go through. It's taken me a long time to get to a place where I'm really comfortable with looking at my genitals in the mirror, but I wasn't always this way. In fact, I was taught when I was growing up that vagina was a dirty word, that it was a cuss word, and that's why I think a lot of women end up really not knowing how to accurately label their own genitals because they've never been allowed to. We've always been told to come up with these ridiculous euphemisms for them, calling them our lady garden and our hoo-ha and our lady bits.
Fanny, your gash, beef cottons, pish flaps, your vag.
It's ridiculous. We don't do this with penises. We call a penis, and we don't teach boys to feel shame around it. And so we shouldn't be doing that with girls and women either. So please know, this is just a bunch of cultural BS that you have been taught, and part of the reason I believe women are taught this is because it disempowers us. It disconnects us from our body and our sexuality. And when we are disconnected from our body and our sexuality, we tend to become less self-confident and more submissive, and therefore we're easier to control. I can't be easily controlled or put down because I know who I am. I'm comfortable in who I am, and I'm comfortable in my genitals, and any man who shames them can get the hell out of my bedroom. So right at the top you have the clitoris, and the clitoris is pretty much one of the most important parts because this is the area that most women need to have stimulated in order to reach orgasm and certainly to experience sexual pleasure. And you can find it by just feeling around with your finger. It feels like a little bump, and it's sort of shaped a little bit like a pea. Now underneath that you're going to find the urethra. This is the hole that you pee out of, or the opening to your bladder. Underneath that is the vaginal opening, and that leads into your vagina, which obviously can't actually be seen from the outside. And that's where you're obviously going to be putting a penis when you're having sex, or a vibrator when you're having sex with yourself, or a tampon when it's that time of the month. Now around the outside of the vaginal opening, you have the vaginal lips, also known as the labia. There are two kinds of labia. You've got the inner labia, which is the labia minora, and the outer labia, which is the labia majora. One of the reasons why it's really important to know where everything is located is, one, so you can experience sexual pleasure, which is very important for women, but two, so you can actually keep yourself safe, because what you can see, hopefully from looking at that diagram and from having a look at yourself with a hand mirror, is that the urethra and the clitoris and the vaginal opening are all in a line. And what can happen for a lot of women during sex is, because there's obviously a lot of grinding going on and because everything is all located together like that, is that some bacteria can get pushed into the urethra. And when that happens, you can end up with a UTI, or a urinary tract infection. And that's basically what happens. If you've had it, you'll definitely know. It happens when you get just a constant urge to pee. Sometimes you'll go to the bathroom and nothing will come out. And when something does come out, it really, really stings and hurts. You can sometimes treat that with cranberry juice. There's like a little bit of anecdotal evidence around that, but usually you need to get antibiotics. That's certainly what I would recommend, is going and seeing your doctor, making sure that it is a UTI, and then getting some antibiotics to treat it. For that reason, it's super important for women directly after sex, and this is not just sex you're having with a partner, but this is also sex you're having with yourself. So if you are masturbating, using a vibrator, or using your hand, that directly after you finish, in those first 5 minutes, that you go and use the bathroom and urinate. Even if you don't feel like you need to pee, just kind of force yourself to go and even just let a couple of drops come out, because that's going to do is to flush that area. So it's quite common when you're having sex that bacteria is just naturally going to get in and around there. If you go to the bathroom in that 5-minute window after sex, you're essentially going to flush it out, and your chances of getting a UTI are pretty slim. If bacteria gets into your vagina, the cool thing about the vagina is it's self-cleansing. So more often than not, it will flush that bacteria out with your vaginal discharge, which we're going to talk about next. So vaginal discharge is completely normal and not something to worry about 99.9% of the time. Vaginal discharge can be slippery and watery and sticky and clear, or it can be sort of thicker and more white and mucousy, and you'll generally see it in the bottom of your underwear when you take your underwear off to go to the bathroom. And that is your vagina cleaning itself out. The vagina is self-cleaning because vaginas are smart and vaginas are awesome like that. The penis, by the way, guys, is not self-cleaning. I'm just putting that one out there. So when you have discharge, don't feel embarrassed about it. Feel awesome about it, because that's your vagina doing its thing. The only time you should worry about discharge is if the smell or color of it suddenly changes. So if it's not clear to white, it starts becoming like green or like yellow or brown or dark, then it's worth going and seeing your doctor, because it could indicate some sort of an infection or an STI. And if you notice a change in the smell, basically, I really want to normalize the fact that genitals are supposed to smell like genitals. So having a slightly fishy or musky or even slightly kind of coppery odor to your genitals is quite normal and quite common. The only time you should be worried about your vaginal odor is if it suddenly changes. So if you notice a smell coming from your vulva that you have not smelled before, a really distinct smell, that could definitely indicate some sort of bacterial infection or maybe an STI, and for that reason it's definitely worth going and seeing your doctor and getting it checked out. Now, I talked in that other video about the fact that I have a huge problem with feminine hygiene products, and I think the proliferation of these products, the fact that they are everywhere, has kind of conditioned women to believe that we need to cleanse our vaginas any more than what we naturally would in the shower. And guys, that's total BS. Your vulva is going to get clean in the shower just by running some hot water over it. If you want to clean it really thoroughly and correctly, I did make a video about how to do that in the shower, so I will link that up here so you guys can go and check that out. But basically it's just using some warm water and a washcloth. There's really nothing more to it than that, and there shouldn't be any kind of scrubbing or friction, and you definitely don't need soap. In fact, I would strongly recommend against it, because soap is going to disrupt your vagina's pH balance, and when you do that, that is how you can end up with a yeast infection or bacterial vaginosis. So please keep the soap away. In terms of feminine hygiene products like Summer's Eve and Femfresh, all these products that are fragrancing your vagina to smell like a summer's day or a bouquet of flowers, I mean, I'm just calling total BS on that. Your vagina is not supposed to smell like a bouquet of flowers. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but if you've ever gone down on a guy's junk does not smell like a bouquet of flowers or a summer's day. And you don't hear us gals complaining. So if you've had a guy complain to you when he was going down on you about your smell or taste, do not see that as a reflection that there's anything wrong with your body. See that as a reflection, actually see that as a huge red flag that you should not be letting him anywhere near your pussy. If a guy is going to shame anything about the smell, taste, or appearance of my vulva, then he is not going to be in my bed for very long, let's just say that. Also guys, the same goes for douching. You do not need to, nor should you ever, put any kind of fluid or cleansing kind of products inside your vagina. Research has shown that women who regularly douche tend to develop lots of bacterial infections, because what happens is you end up inadvertently flushing bacteria into your body and totally throwing off your vagina's natural pH balance. So please trust in your vagina. It's very smart. It knows what it's doing. Your discharge is going to keep everything super pH balanced and super clean. Just wash it in the shower and accept that genitals are supposed to smell like genitals. Now, this is the part I know a lot of you have been waiting for.
What is a vagina or a vulva supposed to look like?
And this is something that unfortunately we don't get taught in school. We don't see pictures of different vulvas and what they're supposed to look like. And what I really love that I've seen happening in the past few years is different projects coming out actually attempting to tackle this issue. So there's a great website called the Vulva Library, which I will link to in my description down below. I recommend every woman go and check it out. There are dozens of pictures on that website of all different vulvas on women of all different shapes, sizes, and colors. And there's also a brilliant art project that was done, I think sometime last year or recently. It was done super recently, and a photographer photographed over 100 different vulvas, and that one is brilliant as well, so I'll link to that in the description also. What I love about these projects is in showing different types of vulvas, what they really show is the fact there is no such thing as a normal vulva. Now play that again, ladies, if you need to. There is no such thing as a normal vulva. Vulvas are different and varied. You can have a labia that hangs quite long, or you can have a labia that's very short. You can have a labia that's very pink, or you can have a labia that's very, very dark brown. All of these things are completely normal, and that's why I love these different photography projects that are really showing that and normalizing that. Just in the way women's bodies all look slightly different, our genitals all look slightly different as well. But because we don't normally get to see pictures of other women's genitals, the only thing we really have to look at is pornography. And pornography, unfortunately, for the most part, really just shows one type of vulva, which tends to be like the Barbie or the clamshell vulva. It's very smooth, single crease, the labia is all neatly tucked away. And while this is a completely valid way for a vulva to look, it's definitely not reflective of how all vulvas look. So please don't compare yourself to pornography. Unfortunately, because we don't talk a lot about vulvas and what they're supposed to look like, we have seen in the past sort of 5 or 10 years a real rise in labiaplasty. And labiaplasty is quite an intensive cosmetic surgical procedure whereby the labia is actually surgically trimmed back to create that more tucked away kind of Barbie / clamshell kind of appearance that I was talking about earlier. And this is very concerning to me because labiaplasty has some significant risks with it. There are many cases of women who've ended up with sexual dysfunction or sexual pain or vaginal numbness because of labiaplasty. And labiaplasty started out as a procedure for women who had labia that was long enough that it was actually causing physical pain or discomfort. So for example, they had a labia that was so long it was essentially rubbing against their underpants during the day and causing them immense amounts of pain and discomfort. And in that case, getting the labia trimmed back made great practical sense. But it has over the years morphed into something that women of younger and younger ages, right down to teenage age, are now requesting to get done simply because of all the shame and mystery that we shroud the vulva in. Women don't know what a vulva is supposed to look like. They wrongfully assume that there is something wrong with their vulva when in fact their vulva is totally normal. So I hope videos like this can help some women. If you're a woman who's maybe been considering labiaplasty, or you've just felt a lot of shame around your vulva and around even letting other people see it, like your intimate partners, then I really hope this has broken down some of that for you and helped you to really just see your vulva as another part of your body. There is nothing dirty about saying the word vagina or vulva, and your vulva is perfect just the way it is. Now, if you enjoyed this video also and you would like me to keep making these kinds of vaginal health / maintenance / normalization videos, then please give this video a thumbs up, and that lets me know that you want more of this kind of content. And also, ladies, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell as well so that you're notified next time one of my videos goes live. I would love to have you join my sex positive community. All right, I will see you in the next video. Mwah.